episode number 2 of SilverSky, the human layer. Wherever you get your podcasts, make sure you do subscribe. Give us a little 5-star review because it's going to help get this out. It is the human layer because that's who we're talking to, the human layer behind SilverSky, the people that actually do the work. And the reason we're doing this podcast, the first and foremost, is so that we can let each other, the SilverSky employee base, know who we are, like the people behind the people, what we do, what we like, how we came up into this business. And the other thing is we want to connect that to our customers. We'd like our customers to connect with our customers and employees and our partners. So it's a whole thing. And then if the rest of the world wants to listen to all of that, and we hope you do, and you find the stories enjoyable and entertaining, then hit that subscribe button and keep us going. So here we are. Efrain, EJ, Orsini. I got that right?
Yeah, close. I'm Efrain, but nobody ever says it right. So that's why I go by EJ.
Well, how could I get that wrong? I mean, we've only worked together for 9 months now. That's a real problem for me.
My family calls me Efrain. I don't even have an M.
Efrain, EJ, Orsini. So, Efrain, EJ, tell us about your journey into cybersecurity. I mean, we tell us a little bit about what you do now, and then we'll get started deep into your past, and we'll walk on that road with you.
Yeah, sure. So I've been here at SilverSky now for about a year and a half. I am the security operations director. So that is a fancy way to say I'm in charge of the SOC, who is monitoring and responding to all of our customers' cases, incidents, tickets, hopefully no breaches, knock on wood, and just working with them in all those facets. Outside of SilverSky, I am also a major in the Army. I've been in the Army for 22 years now as a reserve.
Thank you for that service.
Yeah. And then, small hobbies include playing sports, being outside, anything I could do active, and then hanging out with my wife and my 2 young kids.
Awesome. Yeah, we know all about that. I got a 6 and a 7-year-old, soon to be 8, and we're going to take them to Disney World soon. It is such a blessing to have little ones around, and they keep you young, even when you're old like me.
Would it be their first time at Disney World?
It is not, and unfortunate for my pocket. I think this is like 4 or 5 or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not far behind. I think my daughter's been 3 or 4 times now, and she's 5. My son is 2. So yeah, we're tracking where you're going with it.
So you're from New Jersey, right?
Originally from New Jersey. Yeah. So I lived in New Jersey most of my life, joined the military, moved around, went to school in New Jersey, back in New Jersey for my college bachelor's degree. And then I moved down to Florida, wanted to get away from the snow, see a different change, loved Fort Lauderdale area for about 10 years of my life, and then moved up to North Carolina here about 2 years ago when we had, started having our 2 kids and wanted a different area for them.
Awesome. So are you splitting time between Florida and North Carolina, or how does that work?
No, we live full time up here in Holly Springs. And then we visit down to Fort Lauderdale often because my parents still live down there and my wife's parents still live in the Florida area. And then we have our office down there. So it works out that we can bring the kids, they can go see the parents, and we can work and do whatever we need to do.
Yeah, my in-laws live in Pennsylvania. So I grew up outside of Philadelphia, and that's where my wife's family is. And it does work out nice that we have an office up there because I can have a double purpose for that travel.
Yeah.
So that works out. I know what you mean.
I'm semi-familiar with the area. I went to school at Rowan down in South Jersey. And then my ROTC was in Drexel out in Philly. Hated crossing the bridge, but I did go that way.
I want to hear about the military. So you joined the military right after high school. Tell me about that. Was that something that you always wanted to do, or were you pushed into that? How did that work?
No. So I joined the military, at 17. So I was still in high school, just about to graduate it. And honestly, it was not something I always wanted to do. However, little tidbit, I had done karate at the time for 12, 13 years. My parents thought the discipline of karate had kind of helped hone in who I was and some of the things that I like to do. And my dad had been in the Navy, so he talked about the military a little bit, not a lot. And it just sounded like something great. Then I also did not want my parents to pay for school for me. So I thought that was another way to do that. Decided to kind of give it a shot. I joined in as a Cav Scout, which is a form of infantry. Went away to basic training in AIT, which are your initial things, and then eventually when I went to college, I switched over to the officer route and have been that ever since.
Now, I have a lot of questions I want to ask in this journey. So, one's about basic training, and I'll get to that in a second because I was a fat kid growing up, and that kept me out of the military. My dad was an Army guy, and
Okay.
I heard the horror stories about basic training, and my fat kid inside of me never wanted to go through that. But are you on the cybersecurity side of the military, or are you on command operations? How does that work?
Yeah, so no, my two jobs within the military and our civilian side probably couldn't be further from different. In the
Interesting.
military, like I said, I was infantry type initially. Then I became an officer, and I decided I didn't want to rock with 50 pounds on my back anymore. I didn't want to sleep in the elements or whatever. So I decided I was going to be what's called a quartermaster. It's basically logistics. I would be in charge of cooks, laundry services, vehicles, all of those things that you would think are inside and safe from the elements. Well, then when I switched over to an officer and became a quartermaster, I ended up being attached to an infantry unit and slept back out in tents and rucked and did all those things that I was trying to get away from. But, you just get attached to it and been doing it. So no, I am logistics. That's kind of the realm that I was in for a very long time, 12 plus years. And more recently, I am now an equal opportunity advisor here up in North Carolina in Fort Bragg. And it's just to make sure that soldiers are treated fairly no matter what it is and all have the same opportunities.
Nice. That's an awesome thing. What pushed you into that role? Was there an experience that happened? Were you did somebody talk to you about that role? Tell me about how you got into that.
No, if you want me to be honest, I moved
Yeah.
from Florida up here to North Carolina, and I did not want to fly to Florida for the unit I was in. So I found a unit up here. When I was in Florida, the position I was in was called an OCT. I was
Yeah.
basically helping teach operations to senior enlisted or senior officers who have never really done tactical operations. And then that just kind of spawned into, hey, you need a different position to move up here. And this EO position was open. It's very similar in that we teach people how to do things. We teach them the right ways or things are supposed to look. So it just worked out that they had a position that I was available.
Now I want to go back to the hard stuff. Like I uh I I still love sugar. I eat a coffee cake in the morning with my protein shake. So I always joke that I have to work out so that I can eat the way that I want to eat, my bowl of ice cream. So I was out of shape growing up. My dad was an Army guy, God rest his soul. And that was something where, it was always like talked about, but I looked at basic training and I watched the movies and I'm like, I could never do that. I can't even manage running around the bases 3 times playing baseball. So how talk to me about how that process. How is it really as bad as it looks on TV?
Well, I might date myself slightly here because I've been in 22 years, right? So basic training was a long time ago, but it's very different now, right? I think they can have cell phones now and some of those things that weren't around when I went through, right? But no, I think like physically, once you're there, you're going to be able to do everything they want you to do because you don't really have a
Yeah.
choice, A, but B, they're going to get you into shape to do it, right? For those kids who happen to be a little bit heavier in weight, they would have them on specific plans. Maybe they take away desserts or things like that. But I
No,
mean,
no.
you're rucking and running and you have things on your back and you're working out all day, every day. You'd be surprised how much you can eat and drink in terms of basic training and not have to worry about getting too fat because it's not like at home where you could just go in the refrigerator, right? You only get 3 meals a day and then some snacks in your bag, but you're doing so much that you burn it extremely fast.
It's funny. Like, I don't know about the running anymore, but I myself, like growing up, running. I'm not joking when I say running around the bases 3 times. I was ready to pass out. I couldn't run for more than like 3 minutes at a time until I was in my 40s. I feel like, now I can probably do 15 or 20 minutes, but it was that long. So I'm not sure that I could have done it. I give you a lot of credit.
Listen, I don't like running in general anyway. If you ask my wife when she listens to this, she'll probably say, like, that's not true. You run once or twice a week. It doesn't mean I like it. I just know I have to do it. But I
Yeah.
agree. Like, running is not, to me, it's not a natural thing. You have to work hard at it. But
Yeah.
when you don't have a choice, you find out you're pretty good at a lot of things when you don't really have a choice and you have somebody yelling at you behind you, telling you to go. So it's a different world.
Was there any experiences in the military or anywhere else that changed the way that you work with other people? Like, I can imagine that there's things that happen when you're in that environment that kind of force you to see things a different way. But is there anything that you've dealt with in your life that changed the way that you work with other people?
Yeah, so I can give you two experiences, one military and one out. But like the military in general is very interesting and you learn how to work with other people because you know, like I said, I lived in New Jersey pretty much my whole life. So you go away to basic training where I went was in Kentucky. I had never seen the South. I had never talked to people who had that Southern twang or information. I know Kentucky's not super Southern, but it is below the Mason-Dixon line, right?
Thank y'all.
And
Love y'all.
so that's different in itself. But then you start to see everyone in basic training is from different areas. You've got people from Alaska and Florida, and you've got people who come from money, who come from no money. So the way they speak, the tone, the accent, the information that they try to give you is such a different world than what you're used to. You start having to learn to adapt to people. And I get you should do that in all the different ways you grow. But when you're from one area and you only see one type of people, right? New Jerseyans, and we all have our New Jersey accents, and we call them stubs instead of hoagies or whatever you want to say. It's very different to then hear others. So that was one experience that I think helped mold me a little bit. And then one outside of the military that I tend to always talk about is like, I was a salesman in Verizon for a little while. And while I was there, I helped a company for a very long time, probably about a year, selling him cell phones, changing plans, things like that. And we had a pretty good rapport. But there was a time he asked me, hey, I want you to look at my bill and help this company save money. They were maybe like 100-person company, not super big, but it's a pretty big deal for an in-store salesman,
Sure.
because you're losing a lot of time selling and this and that. But like I said, I really liked him. I liked the company. I liked working with them. So I spent probably about 2 weeks or so helping them, building everything. I came back to him with this super large Excel spreadsheet because at the time you didn't have AI or all this technology to
Yeah.
help you build it. And I said, hey, we'll save you, a few $1,000s a month. This is how you can upgrade all your phones while doing that, this and that. None of it wasn't going to make any money off of this. And I really only did it because I liked him.
Yeah.
Well, to make the long story short, after I did that, a few days later, he came back, asked me to come have lunch with him, and then they offered me a job at his company
Nice.
doing IT audiovisual type stuff, which I had zero experience doing. Right. And I told him that, and he said, that's okay. I don't care. I like the way you work. I like everything you've done for us, and I'll teach you everything you need to know. And I think like that experience alone has kind of molded me and put me in this position where I lead the SOC and I lead a lot of people who could be either very skilled or entry level. And it just helped helped me realize that like it shouldn't matter, how much experience someone has. If they're hungry, they can figure it out. So I use that to pay it back to cybersecurity, IT, audiovisual guys, and try and help them get other positions and things like that. I'm willing to give anybody a chance as long as they show that effort rather than, look at a resume and say, hey, they don't have 10 years of experience, so I can't use them. I think that is the thing that has molded me the most to this point.
Yeah, it's interesting because I kind of feel the same way, and I grew up in a very rough neighborhood, and I saw lots of people that didn't make it out. And it colored me with the idea that if you really want to and you want to get to the next level, you can do anything you want in this life. And that's one of my guiding principles. And I'll say that, I'll shout that from the mountaintops to everybody. If you really want to get somewhere, get some goals together, figure out what it's going to take to the next level. Be open to networking because that's so important. Don't sell yourself short. And really, if you want to do it, you might not get there now. You might have to take a few steps, but you can do anything you want in life.
Yeah, it's so true. And I mean, it's easy to sound like we're saying the simplest thing and it's harder in practice. I get all of that. But it is true to your point. Like I don't think I've ever had a job where I've grown and left a company to go to the same position. It's always been something different where I can say, hey, I probably don't have all the experience you need, but I can guarantee you I'll work harder than somebody who might. You
Yeah.
know, those NBA players who got to the NBA because they worked hard, not because they were the most talented person, just to equate it to a sport, right? But yeah, I think that's the biggest key is anytime we interview someone, I don't really care about your resume. Yeah, we look at it. It has to go through the system. But the first thing I ask is tell me a little bit about yourself and like why you want to do this. Not your
Right.
experience, not what you've done, but like why. Because your why is always going to help drive you more than what you've done in the past.
What is something that people might be surprised? SilverSky people, our customers, partners, people that interface with you. What's something that might surprise them to learn about you?
I don't like this question because I don't feel like I am very secretive at all.
Very
I mean,
transparent, open
yeah,
book.
I'm pretty open book, but I guess you can. I already kind of alluded to it. I did karate for a really long time as a kid. I think I did it for about 12 years. Probably the only reason I stopped was because I joined the military and then we did a different type of thing. But while I did karate, I was a second degree black belt and I was a national champion in a couple different age groups all in the same year. So fun story on that one is I can't remember exactly how old I was, but my parents took me to the tournament. It was up in upstate Pennsylvania, I think, the Nationals. And I think I was in the 14 and 15 age group, somewhere in there. Nobody was sparring in my age group, so I won by default. That first place, and you know, we were getting ready to leave. I had my forms and my other trophy in my hand, and I was a little bummed that I didn't get to spar anybody. So they said, hey, do you want to fight the 16, 17-year olds? And I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? My mom was kind of a little cautious about it. My dad's like, yeah,
Yeah,
just go
sure.
do it. So I did that, and it was a very interesting, fun time. I did end up winning first place there too against quite a few people, so that was nice. But I think that's also where I said, I probably don't want to do sparring anymore because we started beating up each other a little bit more than we probably should have.
EJ, were you ever deployed?
No, I've been mobilized a couple times doing some other things. Um, Most recently from 2018 to 2019, I spent a year out in Texas helping mobilize and deploy soldiers to Iraq, Afghanistan, Kuwait, a bunch of different places. That was my last active duty experience that I've had so far, knock on wood. But there's still time. I'm not out yet, so.
All right, so I said this in a different way in the last episode, but here at SilverSky, we're one of the rare companies out there at scale that does MSSP, MSP, MDR, and professional services. We can do it all, and we can do it all at scale. And I think that's so important in this complex world where you have to be compliant and you have to be secure. And our motto now, brand new to the market as of a month ago, is compliance does not equal security. On the other side, security doesn't equal compliance. In your opinion, EJ, what's more important, compliance or security?
Oh, that's a terrible question. Ah, I don't know. As someone on the SOC side and not the compliance side, I would love to say the security asset, but
Yeah,
I don't think that is necessarily the case. I do think they need to be hand in hand, right?
yeah.
If you have an issue on the security side, you want to be able to be backed up by your documentation, your audits, your compliance. If you have any issues and you need to worry about some type of GRC or some type of compliance law that's out there, GDPR, something like that, it's really important to fall back and understand the compliance side. So as a form of a cop out, Bruce, don't yell at me, but I'm going to say they're pretty much even in our world right now.
As a former major market drive time radio guy, you know that I can work my ads into a conversation, and I need everybody to go to silversky.com and get their free cyber maturity assessment. It's up there on the main page. You can understand how compliant you are, how secure you are, and in 2026, in the middle of World War III, because that's where we're at, gang. World War III is happening all around us. It's a cyber war. It's all over the place, and you have to be compliant so that you can get insured and get your compliances and be able to operate. But you also have to be secure. And sometimes when you're compliant, there's gaps in that security, right, EJ?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anytime you have compliance, that's great, but you will always have audits that you have, right? You've got these SOC 2 audits, you've got all these different things where the goal is not to fail them, but they do help you understand where you could have those gaps and where you can improve, right? The good thing about a SOC 2 is they'll review it, they'll see everything that you do, and then they'll say, hey, you should improve XYZ. You can go back and improve that, and then have them come back in and check those things. And those audits are everywhere. Anytime you do something, you've got all the different versions now of CMMC and, like I said, SOC 2 already. And the benefit to knowing where you're short and where you need to fix a gap is so crucial on the security side. And then going and fixing that and knowing you can go back to compliance and understand those audits and be able to pass them shows you that they're both hand in hand and helpful.
Awesome. Last thing, and then I'll let you go. Although I could talk to you for a long time, I'd want to do a whole episode just on the military stuff because it's fascinating, and it's just something that I've always been interested in. So I'm gonna hold you to that. We're gonna come back and we're gonna get you on, and we'll deep dive into that. But I just want to know, as we close today, what do you hope that our customers, our partners, and other people at SilverSky, maybe that aren't in your world, what do you hope that people come to understand about you and the other people that are behind keeping us secure, keeping the world secure, keeping our customers secure?
I think the most important thing, and is the toughest for customers to realize sometimes, right, is we are that last line. And when a customer has an issue, a breach, a case, something that worries them, a lot of times they get a call in and they care about what tools we're using, where the SLAs are, what happened on the case. And like every customer facing position, you get frustrated people, but something everyone should understand when it comes to SilverSky and the SOC is that our team is second to none with caring. It sounds a little corny and a little cliche, but like they care so much about the companies that we defend, the work they do. They don't just come in, punch the clock, work 10 hours and then leave, right? They're usually working, then they stay late to help out. Any of the customer facing documents the SOC creates, like our LSRs, like our threat intel reports and things like that, they're all manually being made by the SOC analysts and team. So I think that is really important to understand that they're curious, they work hard, they care a lot about the environment. When a case gets missed or something like that, it does bug them. And they get frustrated at those things. So I think that's important to recognize and understand. The human side that SilverSky has is probably what distinguishes us from a bunch of other MSSPs or MDR companies, right? It's not only automation and getting a case right away. We have that, and we're improving every day when it comes to those things, and we do well with that. But the people care, and they help that AI, and they really just push us further and improve us as a whole.
Well, that's a great point, because I think there's a lot of AI only or mostly AI companies out there, but the reason that we have so many banking customers, so many healthcare customers, is because of the human side of our business. We're catching things, and we're not just throwing people a bunch of false alerts too. We're catching things that matter and keeping people both secure and compliant. That's why we're in business, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the other way too, right? AI also will send some things that you may not really care about or
Right.
you may not know. And the team can comb through those and say, hey, this is something we don't have to send out, or it's something that might worry someone, and we could just let them know in an email or give them a call and say, hey, this looks bad, but I promise it's not. Here's why, so on and so forth. So yeah, I fully agree with that.
Awesome. Well, EJ, it's been a great pleasure to get to know you a little bit better myself. I'm sure that everybody that's listening or watching, wherever, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts, make sure you hit subscribe, give us a rating, 5-star review, all that good stuff. If you want to like ding me and give me 1 star, do that on the side. Just give the podcast a 5-star review.
I'll send out
It's been
Bruce's
great.
email if you guys want to do that. It's fine.
There we go. Yeah, hit me as hard as you want on the side, but just don't mess with the podcast. Love your background too, by the way. I tell you that every time. I'm jealous. I'm envious. I love it. It's awesome. I want to build one myself. And yeah, thank you for being on. Thanks for joining us today.
Of course. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And I'm sure we'll talk soon. I am absolutely willing. Let's do this again and talk all military.
Amen. SilverSky, The Human Layer, Season 1, Episode 2. Thanks for listening.